Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Burnfield. I'm here to do the vocabulary read aloud with you this week. The passages that you are going to read this week are in some ways similar to last week's passages. I'm sure that you remember in Rachel's journal, the children came into contact with an Indian. This week, as you read the passages, you are going to read about a young Indian girl named Sacagawea and her interactions with some pioneers. The read aloud this week is called The True Story of Sacagawea. As I read aloud, follow along, and remember I'll be stopping and asking some questions. Remember when I ask a question to think about an answer, speak it out loud, and then we will have a little talk about it afterward. Here we go. Sometimes, when a story travels through time, fact blends into fiction. People feel fulfilled when they learn of an unlikely hero, an ordinary person elevated to a lofty height. Such is the story of Sacagawea. Historians agree that Sacagawea, a young Shoshone woman, accompanied Lewis and Clark as they explored the mighty rivers and endless tributaries of the Louisiana Purchase. How did a teenage American Indian end up joining the most famous trek in American history? What role did she play? And how can we be sure her story is actually true? Many members of the expedition kept journals. The importance of this mission, launched by President Thomas Jefferson in 1803, could not be underestimated. Historians can tell Sacagawea's story from these journals. Question number 1. This is a summarizing question. What sources does the author use to support statements about Sacagawea? Where did they get the information about her? Think about that. Your answer should be something like this. The author refers to historians who have told her story from journals of the expedition. They used journals that people wrote to put together the story of Sacagawea. Let's read on. In 1800, when she was only 12, Sacagawea was kidnapped by a band of Hidatsa Indians, enemies of the Shoshone. They took Sacagawea from her home in Idaho's Rocky Mountain Range to their village in North Dakota. A few years later, a French-Canadian fur trader named Toussaint Charbonnet bought her as a wife. Meanwhile, Lewis and Clark's group, the Corps of Discovery, had made their departure from Missouri. Soon they reached the Hidatsa village and built a fort nearby. As they waited out the winter, they hired Charbonneau as an interpreter. He brought along Sacagawea and their newborn baby. Some experts believe that Lewis and Clark thought that having Sacagawea with them was a better prospect than taking along her husband. That winter, there was great anticipation about bargaining with the Shoshone for horses. Sacagawea's presence could help them forge an agreement. She would also help to overcome the language barrier. Sacagawea's presence also made the Corps hopeful that any American Indians they met would know they were friendly, because no war party ever included a woman and a child. Some other contributions appeared in the expedition journals. For example, on May 14, 1805, Sacagawea's boat nearly capsized. Bundles of important papers spilled into the water, cascading downriver. Even with a baby strapped to her back, Sacagawea recovered the bundles, and soon the journey resumed. She had remained calm despite the stressful situation, earning Lewis and Clark's praise. Her techniques in being able to read the landscape helped guide the Corps. She knew where to dig for roots, how to identify edible plants, and which berries were poison. In his journal, Clark praises Sacagawea as his pilot. But is this what has made her story so legendary? Perhaps her great appeal lies in her ordinary status and the fact that she did not choose her life's path, yet by quietly excelling, she honored us all. Here come 3 more questions. Question number 2 is a main idea and detail question. What details does the author provide to support the importance of Sacagawea to the Lewis and Clark expedition? How was she important to them? Think about an answer. There were lots of things that she did that made her an important part of the expedition. She translated for them. She could bargain for the horses. She rescued some important papers whenever they fell out of the boat. Her presence in the group was important because it showed other Native American groups that they were not ready to have war, but they were friendly people. Let's move to question number 3. Question number 3 is a cause and effect question. How might history have been different if Sacagawea hadn't been part of the expedition? Sacagawea was part of the expedition, so Lewis and Clark were pretty successful. What if she hadn't been there? What effect could that have been? How could it have been different? Think of an answer. Your answer should be something about Lewis and Clark being less successful. If Sacagawea hadn't been there, they may not have been able to speak the native language of the Shoshone Indians, which would have made them less likely to succeed. Last question, question number 4. This is an analyzing the supporting details question. What does the author mean by quietly excelling, she honored us all? This is in the very last sentence. Yet, by quietly excelling, she honored us all. What do you think that means? Think about what Sacagawea did. Think about how it affected the expedition. And then think about how she quietly excelled, and that was an honor to us. When you have your answer, speak it out loud. Your answer should be something like, the author is giving importance to Sacagawea and all the ordinary people who help in important efforts. She was just an ordinary person, but she made a big impact on the future of our country. Before we go, let's read over all of the words together. I will read a word, you repeat it. Here we go. Fulfilled, tributaries, trek, expedition, range, barrier, resumed, despite, techniques, edible. Okay, boys and girls, now it's your turn. You get to read the passages. Enjoy them. We only have 1 more week of online learning after this, so keep up the good work. We are all very proud of you. See you soon. Bye-bye.